All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Sunday night, joined by Neil Orfield. Some would like to refer to him as the Showdown Showman. I would like to refer to him as the oldest contributor here at Stochastic. I'm getting that in, Neil, before too many people are here. That was my gift to you.
I mean, it's not believable, EMac. Nobody believes you that I'm older than you are. You can drop the bit. Nobody's falling for it.
It's not a bit. It's not a bit.
Oh, it's not a bit, huh?
No. But we got 200 people watching here. We're getting the other games wrapping up. Turns out the 49ers are pretenders. Who knew? That's a little disconcerting. The Chiefs somehow losing to the Broncos. Did not see that on the bingo card. Losing convincingly. Yeah. They've only been able to put up 3 field goals against one of the worst defenses in the league. And then Gus the Bus. 3 touchdowns, Gus Edwards. Not on any of my DFS lineups.
On a lot of my DFS lineups. So I appreciate Gus saving my week. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
really? I played one lineup on each site this week. But I played all of the Showdown contests because I like Showdown now. So
nice. Welcome to the Showdown loving team.
I play all of the primetime Showdowns and all of the NFC West and AFC West teams. Because most of the time they're in the afternoon. So it makes it easier because I'm writing basketball articles instead of setting lineups now. I'm writing Showdown articles for football instead of setting lineups. I'm making prop wagers. I'm making parlay cards. Had a nice little $300 parlay hit both today on NFL and yesterday on college football. That was fun. Yeah. So it's been a nice weekend, Neil.
It sounds like it's been a nice weekend. EMac, before the show, EMac did turn down his mic a little bit. It's still a little bit loud. I don't know. I couldn't tell if it's going to be too loud for people. It's not as loud as it was yesterday, I don't think.
So here's the only thing I can do. Absolutely nothing, because it's all StreamYard, and we don't have any settings to tweak it. So I will have to go in. I'm on my work computer. They just updated our operating system, so I'm sure somewhere buried in someplace is the setting. I will try to talk a little softer if at all possible, but unfortunately in StreamYard we don't seem to have any controls where we can adjust the input.
Do you have a Shure? I'm not looking at you right now. Is it a Shure microphone? Like could you go? Do you have like an app that you can turn down the volume?
I have no idea.
All right, I forget. I'm talking to the oldest member, a boomer on the Stochastic.
Okay, the charade's over. Yes, I have a Blue Yeti mic that I've had for 12 years.
Okay.
So I just plug it into a USB port and it goes on. I've tried to turn down the setting on it. I don't even know if that works anymore manually. So we shall see. Try stuttering. Why do I need to stutter? I don't know. I don't know.
Suggestion.
How about here's a good one. Let's just have Neil talk.
All right, I can talk. I'll do that for you.
We'll do that. We have 500 people in, so let's get started here. We, of course, are brought to you by Owner's Box. If you sign up through the link that is in our YouTube description here, you can get a $500 deposit match on your first deposit up to $500. You get a $5 lightning round contest ticket and a $5 regular ticket. All you got to do is put in $10, and they're basically giving you $10 to play on the site, as well as up to a $500 deposit match. Pretty good deal. They ran at about 20% overlay, 25% overlay today, I believe was the last I saw. So try out the new sites, because that is where you can find overlay. I did a little overlay chasing on Yahoo for a little hockey, of all things, Neil. We have projections for Yahoo hockey, if you can believe it. Very unique scoring system. They still use the plus minus. None of the other sites use that anymore.
The plus minus.
So if it's an even strength goal, you get a -1. If the other team scores on you, and the team that scores, they get a +1. It's an archaic. They have way better ways to measure things these days. It's an old vestige. It's like batting average. Yeah. It was something they could figure out easy enough before we had computers. So you ready to run into the show here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's hit it. We have some fun. We've got, what might have been a good game. Well, it still may be a good game. Might have been an enticing matchup if Justin Fields was playing. but he is not. Instead, we have, and I've forgotten his name already, Badgett?
Tyson Bagent.
Bagent. Did you know that he went to Shepherd College in West Virginia? The Shepherd Rams. I discovered that as I was researching him today.
I knew that he was a D2 guy. I did not remember what college he went to because I went and looked up his college stats today. So I was trying to figure out if he is a rushing quarterback, looking at his college stats, which is always tough when you don't have an NFL sample size, because sacks are counted as negative rushing yards in college. I'm like, I don't really know how to gauge whether somebody is a runner based on their college stats. So still have, not a great idea. My takeaway is that he's not much of a rusher. It was kind of, never had, I think his highest rushing yard game in his career was like 45 yards. But again, that's, sacks being negative yards. Who knows how that impacts things. So yes, I knew that he was a Division II guy. I did not know the name of his school. I still don't remember. You just said it. I've already forgotten what school it was you were talking about. Shepherd. Now I cannot hear you at all, by the way. Did you mute yourself? Is this Boomer Hour? This is Boomer Hour right now. EMac totally muted himself, and he can't deny it because I can't hear him. So who knows what's going on with EMac? I guess I'll just continue until EMac figures out whatever is going on with his sound. So I'll continue talking about. I still can't hear you. I am looking at you. I can't hear you right now. Tyson Bagent. So are you gonna refresh your computer or something, EMac? All right. So I will continue talking about Tyson Bagent until we get EMac back, or continue talking about all the plays on the slate. Tyson Bagent looks okay. We've got him at about 4% captain ownership, 3% chance of being optimal in the captain, 30% util ownership, 29% chance of being optimal in the util. So a little bit of negative leverage in both spots on Tyson Bagent. I'm gonna have. Let me see what I have right now. I think I've got a reasonable amount. I don't think that I have a ton of Tyson Bagent. Give me 1 second. But I'm going to have him in some lineups. I'm going to have him in some captain lineups. This is kind of an exciting place where we just don't really know much about him. Like, those are kind of spots that I like to attack sometimes. And it seems like reasonable ownership for me. It's also a spot where, because we know so little about Tyson Bagent, I put a little bit less stock into the Sims for Tyson Bagent's range of outcomes, because we just don't know. Like, Sims, they're going to be better the larger the sample size, the more you can kind of rely on things like Sims and the range of outcomes that we have for Tyson Bagent. So I'm going to be playing him probably a little bit more than the field, just because he is a quarterback on a 1-game slate. Nice spot against this Chargers defense that has been bad both against the run and against the pass. In the past, they were kind of a run funnel defense. This year, they've just been bad against everybody. So I'm going to take my shots on Tyson Bagent. We don't have a particularly great projection for him, sub 14 fantasy points. I'm hoping that is the case around the industry, and I can get just above the field pretty easily on Tyson Bagent. As far as how I'm using Tyson Bagent, I think I'm treating him like he is similar to Justin Herbert, actually. So not exactly like an entirely statue-esque quarterback, but like largely a statue quarterback. Doesn't seem to have a ton of rushing upside. I know I think he had a rushing touchdown last week, so he has that going for him. But I don't know. You can count on that. He's not somebody who just did a ton of running in college. So for me, I'm going to be, when I have Tyson Bagent in the captain spot, I'm going to have at least 2 pass catchers with him in the flex. When I've got him in the flex, I'm going to have at least 1 pass catcher with him somewhere else in the lineup, whether somebody else in the flex or somebody in the captain spot. And I think I am going to include the running backs. Certainly Roschon Johnson, somebody you can include in your pairings with Tyson Bagent. Deontay Foreman was, I believe, pretty involved in the passing game last week. This is normally stuff that I pull up while EMac is talking. So let me pull that up now. But I think that you can include the running backs there with Tyson Bagent. On the other side, Justin Herbert. I don't really think I need to say all that much about Justin Herbert. Everybody knows who Justin Herbert is, what you can expect from him. For me, Kylo says, can you go over lineup construction for this game? Anything unusual? Not really. So 2 quarterbacks who don't do a ton of running, like both are, have a little bit of rushing upside, but I think Justin Herbert's averaging like 13 rushing yards per game this year. We do have Gerald Everett out, so that kind of changes the slate a little bit. We have the kind of interesting situation with the Chargers receivers since Mike Williams has been out. We'll talk about the receivers a little bit too. Someone need to reboot EMac. Exactly right. EMac needs to be rebooted. He's at that age. You just need to reboot him once in a while. Justin Herbert, I'm going to be playing. He's going to be in most of my lineups, to be honest. Justin Herbert is one of the highest projected players on the slate. You look at our tools, we have him projected for 11% captain ownership, 10% chance of being optimal in the captain spot, 53% util ownership, 56% chance of being optimal in the util. So a little bit of positive leverage in the util, a little bit of negative leverage in the captain spot. That's often what you see with players that are just really expensive. And Justin Herbert is the most expensive player on the slate, 12,000 in the flex. So for me, I'm treating him similar to Bagent, where if I have him in the captain spot, I want at least 2 pass catchers in the flex. If you're playing 150 lineups, you could, loosen that rule up, maybe allow for 1 sometimes, but I'm only playing 25 lineups tonight. So for me, I have a hard rule. If Justin Herbert is in the captain spot, I'm going to have multiple Chargers pass catchers in the flex. Certainly, Austin Eckler counts as a pass catcher with Justin Herbert, one of the better receiving backs in the league. And then if I have Justin Herbert in the flex, I am requiring at least 1 pass catcher somewhere else in the lineup. So exact same settings for me as Tyson Bagent. And he's I'm going to have more of Herbert than Bagent. As I said, he's going to be in a majority of my lineups. Let's see. The first run that I did, I have, I haven't set my captain. I need to update my settings because I didn't set a cap on my captain ownership. Right now I have Herbert in 60% of my cap. I'm not going to keep that. I'm going to set my cap there at 20%. Is the most I can have of any player in the captain spot. But I imagine I'm going to have Herbert in just about all of my crunches without changing the settings too much. Right now I have 68% in the flex, and I've got 20%. So I guess, right, my first crunch second crunch, I've got 88% Justin Herbert in my lineups. That seems good. I'm totally fine having a ton of Justin Herbert. One of the better projected players on the slate. Nice matchup against the Bears. Not complaining about getting to a lot there. Here, I'll check in on chat, see if you guys are asking any questions. Deuce, I think you're talking about FanDuel with a 4-1 Chargers stack. Yep, certainly is viable. Are we getting stoned and playing Stone Smart? That's a good question, Sterling. I think I might be playing some Stone Smart. Let me pull up the numbers from last week for Stone Smart. So I'm just looking at, I actually have it split up by quarter. I was trying to figure out when in the game Gerald Everett got hurt. So it looks like Gerald Everett played first, second, third quarter. Didn't play at all in the fourth quarter last week. So I guess, and only ran 1 route in the third quarter. So maybe Gerald Everett got hurt pretty early in the second half is kind of my takeaway, just looking at the quarter splits here for Gerald Everett. And then we had Stone Smart in the first 3 quarters. He ran 3 routes in the first quarter, 2 routes in the second quarter, 2 routes in the third quarter. Then he ran 9 routes in the third quarter. So I think Stone Smart actually looks really great here. I mean, with Gerald Everett out in the fourth quarter, running 9 routes, that's definitely promising for Stone Smart. He only had 1 target on those 9 routes run, but that is not anything too bad. I mean, 1 target, 9 routes. We'll take that for Stone Smart as somebody who's not particularly expensive. Let's see, did he have any first read targets? No end zone targets, no first read targets. So he in the game, he did not have a single first read target. That's not too shocking for Stone Smart. But yeah, I think that he's a guy that I'm going to be taking some shots on. Just looking at our tools, we have Stone Smart at, where's his latest projected ownership? 5% projected flex ownership, 0.2% captain ownership. I'm gonna keep refreshing this because I'm guessing that these numbers are going to go up a little bit. Okay, we actually just got a projections update, so let me update you on that because I'm not sure if that run had Gerald Everett out. So let me see. Stone Smart now with Gerald Everett out. Okay, we now have him projected for 14% util ownership, 2% captain ownership, and we have positive leverage in both for Stone Smart. He is the Stone minimum. That was no pun intended there, but he is the Stone minimum. We're projecting for 2% captain ownership, 4% chance of being optimal in the captain spot, 14% util ownership, 17% chance of being optimal in the captain. You can certainly play some Stone Smart. As I said, 9 routes run in the fourth quarter, the only quarter that Gerald Everett didn't play at all. So I think that's kind of promising for Stone Smart. Certainly somebody that you can play here. I guess I'll move back to wide receivers. And let me just take a look at the most recent game. I'm going to close these splits, turn this filter off. Oh, hang on one second, guys. I gotta invite EMac to the room because, again, he is a boomer. He doesn't know how to do stuff. He doesn't know how to get in the room without an invitation, or a vampire, maybe. I don't know. for some reason I need to invite EMac into the room. So give me 1 second. Oh, it changed computers. Okay, I see. All right. So hopefully he will be able to get in now that I've sent him the link. I guess I can get back to talking about the receivers though, but let me pull up the week 7 so I can tell you about the splits for week 7. I'm going to turn off this quarter splits. Then we can look at the total routes run from last week because we have a couple weeks sample size now. I think we have weeks 6 and 7, so I could do them together. But just looking at week 7, we had Josh Palmer leading the team in routes run, ran 35 routes, 97% route participation, actually tied with Keenan Allen. So Josh Palmer was kind of treated like the clear wide receiver 2, along with Keenan Allen. Had 7 targets in that game, whereas Keenan Allen had 9. Those two were kind of far and away the top in terms of route participation and targets in the game. So both obviously you know all you need to know about Keenan Allen. He is an elite receiver. You would expect him to be pretty involved here. EMac looks like he is back. EMac, are you ready for me to add you to the stage? All right, EMac is ready to join us. Okay, how's it going, EMac?
I'm frustrated. I had to change computers. My computer's just in perpetual update mode. This is awesome. So
yeah.
But is the sound better?
The sound is better. You actually sound totally great now. Yeah.
It comes and it goes. For anybody wondering, here it is. It's rebooting.
All right. Well, glad to have you on this computer because, you do sound better. I don't think we're going to get any complaints now. I went over quarterbacks, EMac. I started to go
listening to you on YouTube.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I had you on my phone, so I could see what you were doing.
So you know exactly where we're at. All right. Well, are you ready to take over?
Sure. Well, I was a little behind. So where are we on all?
I was just opening up the stats for how things went for the receivers last week.
Oh yes, you were breaking down you were talking about Stone, the tight end.
But did not, I talked about Stone just because I got a question about him, but I was going back to just talking about the route participation, the targets from last week for the receivers. And I was saying Josh Palmer and Keenan Allen led the team, both had 97% route participation. I guess I'll just continue on talking about the receivers. And then after I'm done talking about the Chargers receivers, I can throw it back to you. So Palmer, Allen both ran 97% route participation. Quentin Johnston was actually third on the team. He had 67% route participation in that game, had a couple targets, just 2 targets on 67% route participation, but still promising that he's at least getting a little bit more involved. Austin Eckler, 53% route participation, and Stone Smart, 44%. But as I said, he ran 9 of those routes in the fourth quarter. So that is promising. At least makes me think that he's probably going to be more involved here. Donald Parham, again, just ran 13 routes. But we know that Donald Parham always going to be an end zone target. They like feeding him in the end zone. So even when the route participation isn't elite, and I'm not sure that it will be here, we know that he's always live to just score a touchdown or 2. And he did have two first read targets, I should say, last week. Josh Kelly ran 12 routes last week. That's 36%. 33%. It was Donald Parham ran 13 with 36%. Darius Davis last week ran 5 routes. That is 14% route participation. And then Keelan Doss, who was called up last week, ran 1 route. So that is 3% route participation. I think all look like, I shouldn't say all look like fine plays. There's kind of a clear hierarchy here. Keenan Allen, you know who he is. He is the alpha receiver here for the Chargers. No reason not to play some Keenan Allen in your lineups. Josh Palmer, we've got projected for about 36% ownership. Actually, I should be looking at the single game tool because that might be updated. We have him, 37% util ownership, 8% captain ownership. Josh Palmer, we have positive leverage in both spots. We have him optimal in the captain spot 11% of the time, in the util 46% of the time. So nice positive leverage for Josh Palmer, regardless of where you play him. Quentin Johnston, we have at, what's the update here? We have Quentin Johnston at 2% captain ownership, 3% chance to be an optimal, 15% util ownership, 17% chance to be an optimal. 4,800, the price is about right there. So I like these Chargers receivers. And then Darius Davis, as I said, 5 routes run last week. He's a long shot kind of dart throw, but he is 800. So 1 splash play, can pay that off. But he's only a large field GPP play. Similarly, who is Keelan Doss? I don't even know if he's active in this game. Maybe he's not because I don't see him in the tools.
Did we get any word on Jalen Guyton?
I have not. He was not on the inactives list.
Okay, so he may not be active then. He was practicing. I think I want to say he was out with a knee injury. He hasn't played at all this year. But he was one guy that I saw. Let me go runner.
Oh, he's on the pup list. Jalen Guyton's on the pup list.
So he still is. I think they opened his practice window. So again, they have 3 weeks to decide before it's a whole convoluted thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's not playing this game.
All right.
Do you have anything you want to add about the receivers, EMac?
Are we talking all receivers or just
Chargers receivers?
Just Chargers.
Haven't even talked about the tight ends. I guess I did kind of include the tight ends.
Okay, yeah, sure. So from a high level, I mean, Keenan Allen, and Josh Palmer over the last 2 games, they each played 95% or more of the snaps. Palmer's dealing with the sore knee, expected to play and not be an issue. They're just limiting him in practice, was what I saw for the last part. And then, of course, no Mike Williams. You mentioned Keelan Doss and Darius Davis. Those guys are just they're dart throws. I think Doss doesn't even have a target yet, but you do have just a heavy workload going to Keenan Allen. He has 11.4 or 11.7, 10.7 targets per game. He's already got 4 touchdowns. His career high is 8. So that's kind of a fun wrinkle. And then the interesting thing about Palmer is, of course, he gets those downfield looks. So those guys are highly correlated or highly concentrated in there. And then you've got Quentin Johnston. Ooh. So what are your thoughts on Johnston?
First of all, I want to say Drew D just said that he just shipped the owner's box for $20,000 prop to Stochastic for all the content. That's amazing, Drew. That is so awesome to hear. Winning $20,000 on owner's box, taking advantage of some of that overlay. Really, really cool to hear that. What was the lineup, Drew? Can you let us know who you played on owner's box? That's really cool. Quentin Johnston, yeah, it's interesting because he is like I thought he was going to come in and potentially remember this was a showdown slate. We talked about it. I don't know if it was Sunday Night Football or a different slate, but I was like, he's the big bodied receiver who like seems like the prototype to take over the Mike Williams role, and then he was just not used at all in that game, just like really underwhelming. It's at least promising that it seems to be ticking back up. So that I guess that must have been week 6 because was that
15 targets on the season. Is all.
Yeah.
And since Williams has gone down, I think he's only gotten like 5.
Yeah. So his 54% snap share was the highest of the season. So I guess that's sort of promising, but like not by any kind of margin. He had run 51% in week 4. It certainly didn't make us feel good watching him in that last Showtime game without Mike Williams. But I mean, I think that he's reasonably. We're not projecting him for like. To be overowned. We have Quentin Johnston, as I said, 2% captain ownership, 15% util ownership. I think I'm going to be above the field there. Like he scares you a little bit, especially after I was all on him the last Showdown slate that he was on, and he disappointed me big time and like wasn't even really out there. Like didn't even really have that many opportunities at this point because he just wasn't on the field. But it's at least promising that the snap share rose a little bit in the last game against the Bears. I think that I'm going to go back to some Johnston at low ownership.
You know who he is? He's Josh Palmer of 3 years ago.
Yeah,
remember,
right.
Palmer was the disappointing guy that was running wind sprints, and if he could just catch the pass, then he would be leading us to glory. That's who Quentin Johnston is. Of course, they've got a lot of draft capital in him. Did you set any rules for the tight ends? I said max of 1 from and I almost said San Diego. This is great. They've been in Los Angeles for 3 years now, and I can't get that right. Gerald Everett was dinged up with a sore hip. He is only playing on about half the snaps.
He's out. He's out this game.
Oh, thank you. I missed that in my kerfluffle here. Well, that makes it a lot simpler, which must have been why you were talking about Stone Smart.
Yeah.
Does that mean Trey McKitty is in the picture as well?
Yeah, that's tough. Like Trey McKitty, I don't believe. Wait, I already closed my steps. Oh, maybe he was inactive the last game.
On the roster. No, he's played a couple snaps this year.
He didn't play a snap in week 7. He played 10% of snaps in week 6. And Gerald Everett was hurt during the game in week 7, so it's possible that he. What is the status of Trey McKitty? Do we have him projected for anything? So we have Trey McKitty. He doesn't look great in our totals. He's the Stone minimum. We have him projected for 3.4% util ownership, 1.3% chance being optimal, 0.1% capped ownership, 0.2% chance being optimal. I don't know that's. Let me see if I can find any more info on Trey McKitty. I not really planning on playing him. I was just planning on playing Stone Smart, who's already not getting enough ownership. But I think he's active. He could take on a bigger role. You never know. Teams do sometimes change what they're doing. Like with an in-game injury, like the way they react in-game isn't necessarily what's going to happen in the next game when they've had more time to prepare. So I think he's playable. He's definitely like only a large field GPP play. I wouldn't play him in any kind of small field because I'm not sure that Trey McKitty is going to be very involved after we saw him get 0 snaps last week. But you'd think, if he's active, he's at least live to get some snaps, and he's a tight end. So could always has that touchdown possibility. I don't know that I'm going to go to Trey McKitty just because, again, I'm only playing 25 lineups. I think I'm just going to be taking my shots on Stone Smart instead of those cheap Chargers receivers. But I think if I were playing 150, we have Trey McKitty at 3% projected ownership. I would probably be above the field if I were playing 150. He would start getting into my lineups, at a good clip the more lineups I'm playing. But in my first 25 lineups, I'm not taking my shots there. I'm taking my shots on Stone Smart.
That makes sense, and now I understand why you were talking about Stone Smart.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. So we've got. Okay. So that changes what I'm going to do. I will not be setting. I thought it was just going to be Parham and Everett. I will not be setting a rule to limit them now, and that's only because Stone is so cheap.
Yeah.
And it sort of goes out the window at that point because he could facilitate the other one. And this is the first time I've set up a only one tight end rule. I was like, this feels like it could be restrictive. We're right after National Tight End Day here. Does that make sense? But to me, it felt like if there's an in-game injury, then I want to have all of the other guy, and I don't want them in the same lineup, right? So that was sort of the strategy behind that. It's just so people can understand the thoughts.
My second biggest win ever in DFS was a showdown slate with the Chargers where I had both tight ends in my lineup. So I'm hesitant to make that rule.
I heard that in the back of my mind when I was making this rule. It felt like a bad rule, but I'm like, oh, clearly I know better, right? IKB, fancy play syndrome, whatever we want to call that.
I mean, I also get it. Like the rule, like I understand why people make the rule. I wouldn't make it today though. I think
and mine was just because of injury and similar pricing and similar usage. And I was like, well, if one of them, if Everett's out, then I don't want Parham on that same lineup. Was basically all I was trying to do.
Sure.
All right. Special teams. The Chargers have 4 or more sacks in all but 2 games. That's pretty impressive. 22 on the season over their 6 games. Bagent has been sacked twice. That's it in his game and a half, game and a third, whatever it was. On the turnover side, each team is averaging a turnover and getting a takeaway. So nothing overly exciting there.
I mean, you can't take down Tyson Bagent because he's got that arm wrestling strength. His dad is like a professional arm wrestler. Yeah, both arms apparently. Yeah, both right arm and left arm. It's a real thing. I forget what the actual thing is, but his dad is like some great arm wrestler. But I like that. So
that
I feel
feels
like you can,
over the top, Neil.
That information, like you don't need that information.
No, that's the name of the arm wrestling movie with Stallone.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's why I did not. That's why I had no idea what you're talking about.
From like 1990,
before my time, EMac.
1987, whatever it was.
But I like the idea of playing Tyson Bagent with the Chargers defense. Like that's one of those ways that like a lot of people might not want to play it, but it's Tyson Bagent. We have, as you said, like 1 1/3 game sample size, whatever it is. It's not a very large sample size, so. Who knows if he's going to become turnover prone the more he plays. This is a Division II quarterback playing in the NFL. So I think you can hope for some wild play. Maybe he throws a pick 6 and then he throws a couple touchdowns. I think that's, it's always viable. Like I'm always willing to play the defense against the opposing offense, but I think it's extra viable here just because it is such a big unknown what kind of player he is.
All right, Travis Meyer is using his member chat. That's so when you guys see the little stochastic memberships that are being gifted out, it's so you can send. Oh, you get a free super chat a month, and you get like little badges, and you can use funny emojis and stuff. I have it. My wife was like, "Why are we getting? Why is Yahoo or Google? I forget who's charging us. Why is this $1.90 a month or whatever?" I'm like, "It's like 10 cents a day. Just let me have my own emojis here." He's asking who is the best captain for the 222 on DK, 1,750 players in the field. Now, I did hear you saying you set your cap at 20% for.
I do.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean it's not, there's nothing like that. That's just totally a personal preference kind of thing, whether you want to take big stands on captains. I like kind of spreading out my lineups a bit, so just setting a cap on my captain exposure naturally will lead to a different types of lineups. Yeah, I'm trying to think who would be my favorite captain. I mean, Tyler Scott is really standing out in our tools. I'm getting to so much Tyler Scott. He is 1,200. I haven't looked at the Bears closely yet, but we're projecting for 3% captain ownership with a 6% chance of being optimal. I don't know that you necessarily need to go in a field that size. Maybe he's a little bit too off the board. I would say it probably would be either Keenan Allen or Josh Palmer for me. Like Josh Palmer, you're going to be able to play, better plays across the board. Keenan Allen is pretty expensive, but it would probably be one of those two. Those are our two highest in terms of captain optimal odds. Keenan Allen is number one, 17% chance of being optimal. Josh Palmer is number two, 11% chance of being optimal. A field that size, you don't really need to be optimal. So that's, but it's kind of a good gauge of like who are the likeliest great captains here. And they're who you would expect. Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, DJ Moore. Those are our top five in terms of that metric. If you want to get off the board, there probably won't be too many people in that contest playing Tyler Scott in the captain spot. It'll allow you to play studs everywhere else. So you could go there. I would probably lean towards one of, also, I mean, it's hard for me not to want to play Eckler, but he does have pretty massive negative leverage. So I would probably go Keenan Allen or Josh Palmer.
Yeah. I would go Palmer. I think just enough people wouldn't go that route. You got to figure Everett and Allen are going to be the two most popular. If you go to Tyler Scott, which I don't think is a horrible play, and I was toying with putting him in the cash game lineup that I'm building here. I will put 10 free cash games or 10 team free money are launching here in the DK lobby. Username EMac for $1. We're playing for pride, but since I screwed everything up, I'll put another 10 in there today. But Tyler Scott, essentially, if you play him at the captain, then the next best like three lineups are all San Diego onslaughts. And I think a lot of people are going to go that route. And it would, I don't think you'll be unique is the challenge.
Even in a field that size, you think you would be duped if
if you played the Scott, Herbert, Allen, Eckler, Palmer, Chargers defense, someone's going to play that.
True.
If go with two Bears in the lineup and you'll be a little bit different, you could go with three and be very different.
Sure.
And that's going to be the iteration, I think, to be different here is more than two Bears. Yeah. What do we call a pack of Bears? I don't know. A herd of Bears?
Bear. I don't know. I feel like I should know this probably.
I never occurred to me that perhaps
might just be a pack.
Herd? A pack? I don't know. Maybe they don't really hang out together. It's like a mother and two cubs, right? Isn't that how it usually works?
Somebody in chat will know for sure.
Yes. So, alrighty. Let's see here. We hit a little bit on Owner's Box. Got to celebrate the win there. $20K. That's nice. Shout out to Greg Ehrenberg. He dropped a $100,000 win last night. Got 400 DK points. It's been a while since I've seen that. Looked like someone might run him down with Eric Gordon, but then they kind of called off the dogs in that game.
That game was over by like midway through the third quarter.
Fortunately, John Collins got back out there, so he got the double-double. I ended up getting I wrote it up at 350, plus 350. I was able to get it at plus 400, and he got there. Today's wild bet, plus 600 for a triple-double for Domantas Sabonis. They're playing at 9 o'clock. So
we got a couple people informing us, and I did not know this. It's a sleuth of Bears. I had no idea.
It's a murder of crows. That's always a fun one. It's like a pod of whales.
EMac, you have not consoled me yet. Mark just brought up, Neil, what are your Vikes going to do at quarterback? You have not even mentioned that Kirk Cousins likely out for the season, tore his Achilles. I mean, going to be out for the season. They've already said he tore his Achilles.
No, you just put some deer antler spray on that, and then you take some peyote or whatever it is and go in a room that's totally dark, and then you're going to be like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. No, yeah.
No?
Unfortunately, I don't have high hopes for the Vikings without Kirk Cousins. Hopefully, they do make some kind of a trade because at this point, like the tank is off. Like they've won too many games.
I
feel like
know
they need to continue
this would have
trying
been
to win.
nice a little while ago, but they can't. They're not going to be able to get below everybody for the. There's a lot of good quarterbacks this year.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
how
I just
many of
don't
them
know.
are going to be NFL type? Like I don't. After watching, I'm blanking on his name, the Huskies quarterback. I don't know. I think he's like a day 2 pick. I think the Oregon and the USC quarterbacks are the better ones. There's some good ones out there. Alrighty, so we have not done the Bears. Probably.
Well, okay, let's so starting with the Chargers, I talked about Herbert. Have not talked about the running backs at all. Eckler looks great.
May I
do
jump
you want to
in?
talk? Yeah, jump in.
Absolutely. Austin Eckler has kind of struggled over his last 2 games. He missed a month with a high ankle sprain. He has 28 carries in these 2 games, but just 72 yards. And he has 8 targets with 5 receptions for 36 yards, hasn't gotten into the end zone. That is allowing us to get an intriguing prop. It's all over the place. It's on Prize Picks and the fantasy prop sites. It's on the betting markets, but between 48 and 51 yards. I like the over for that one. The thing you want to remember with him is he kind of caps out around 12 to 14 carries is sort of his baseline. He does get him in the red zone. As we've seen the last 2 years, he's fully capable of scoring there, but we're really hoping for his receiving or catches, his PPR points. I think his props were around 31 to 34 for his receiving props, but I like the overs for both of those. So he's pretty good. Did you know that Josh Kelly, 75 yards on 7 carries in the last game? He scored 2 touchdowns. The first game when Eckler was healthy, and then this last game was when Eckler was healthy. What did he do the 3 games when he was the main guy? Not a blessed thing.
In some good matchups too. He just he can't get it done by himself as a lead back, apparently.
No, it's just the pressure's just too much. It's just too much. Josh Kelly's path to success is one, breaking off a 20-yard run, which suddenly he's capable of doing as long as Eckler is healthy, or potential mop-up duty in this one if the Chargers are going to be able. I'm going into dementia. I'm not just old. I'm hitting the dementia phase here, Neil. The Chargers, if they get into mop-up duty, but they've lost their last 2 games. They're 2 and 4. Yeah, they're in trouble. They really need to take care of business tonight.
And it's still going to be tough, like even in that scenario, just because he is pretty expensive. Like he's, as far as a running back 2 goes, we have Josh Kelly at 5,400. So I mean, he's, as you said, he's done it 2 games. There have been 2 games where he's broken off one really long run and it's basically paid it off. So it is in his range of outcomes. I think I'm going to skip over Josh Kelly tonight. But I am a little bit more scared of it. Like I've said that in the past and felt pretty good about it. I'm a little bit more scared just because we've seen it a couple times already from Josh Kelly, and he is facing this Bears defense. Maybe I'll play a cup. Maybe I'll get up to close to the field. I think I'll be under 10%. We have the field at 11%, or I guess I should see if that's updated. But we have him getting some ownership. So here, yeah, we have him at 1% captain ownership, 11% util ownership, negative leverage in both places. I'm going to be under 10% Josh Kelly. I might full fade him in my 25 lineups. I would have some in a 150 set, but it's not the type of running back 2 that I'm really excited to play just because the price tag is too high.
That makes sense. Boy, it's interesting looking at some of the optimal-ish type lineups here with Austin Eckler. They're not quite as impressive as I thought they were going to be.
I haven't tried Austin Eckler captain. I guess I probably made some, but I mean, he's expensive. It's tough to do. You got to get your Stone Smarts and your Tyler Scotts in there.
That you are basically naming the lineup that is created by doing that.
That's what you're forced into. Yeah.
It's a shame. Let's see.
So I talked about the receivers a little bit. Did you have anything you wanted to add on the Chargers receivers? This kind of went over the.
I'm good with all the Charger talk
and tight ends. Okay, cool.
Shall we do the Bears?
Yeah.
Let's see here. So the fun we mentioned the hard hitting analysis that Tyson Badgett was an undrafted free agent out of Shepherd University in West Virginia. He was 10 of 14 when he took over from Fields, 83 yards in that game. He had 2 carries, 4 yards, and a score. Last week, they let him throw 29 times. Very controlled passing game, though he did not throw to Cole Kmet once. It's a little disconcerting there. But he was 21 of 29 for 162 yards and a touchdown, three more carries for 24 rushing yards. They beat the Raiders. Here's the thing that's very, very sad to me, Neil, because the Chargers have such a poor passing defense, and we saw that big game against Miami. They've allowed 3 different quarterbacks to throw for 300, I think it's 360 or more yards. 2 400-yard games have come against them, and 4 quarterbacks have thrown for more than 3 touchdowns. 3 of them threw for 3, 1 of them got 4. Aiden O'Connell, another rookie, he was the worst performance against the Chargers here. He was 24 of 39 with 1 interceptions, 3 carries, and a touchdown. I bring that up because that's kind of what we're expecting here from Badgett. The mix may be a little different in how he gets there, but it's, most of the props kind of have him for around 180 yards, 160 to 180 passing yards. And it all comes down to the adventure of, is he going to run into the end zone himself, which we see a lot of inexperienced and young quarterbacks do, or is he gonna actually throw to Cole Kmet? But we know
or
he's
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. He peppered DJ Moore. Moore had, I think, 9 targets in the other one. So I think Badgett is viable. My rule for him was just 1 pass catcher if he's the captain. I don't.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know that he can support 2.
Well,
did you go with 2?
Okay, then let me ask you this. So the reason that I let you do multiple pass catchers when I have the quarterback at captain is because of the dynamics of the scoring. So it's, anytime he's throwing the ball, the receiver is outscoring him. So it's hard for a quarterback to get there unless they have rushing upside. But it sounds like you think that Badgett maybe does have. He scored a rushing touchdown in the last game. So I did set the rule at 2. It is close for me. Like he was one that, just because he is a little bit of a wild card, I'm not really sure what kind of quarterback he is. The reason I don't want to set it at 1, the reason I'm concerned is if he's not a rushing quarterback, if he's throwing to primarily, like, you need him to spread the ball around to be the highest scoring player, because if he's throwing too much to just one of his receivers, that receiver is going to end up being outscoring him. With that said, Keenan Allen is a lot more expensive than him, so I guess that is one of the other factors that can lead you to potentially playing a quarterback in the captain spot without multiple receivers, because he does have a receiver who can help him out, score a touchdown for him, pick up some yards, and still not be optimal because of the price tag. So yeah, I think that's reasonable to set it at 1. I set it at 2. I don't know if I'm going to change it, but I think you go either way.
Yeah, it's certainly a decision point here. Oh, man, this is a tough one. You're leaving a lot of money on the table here if you go with that Eckler, Smart, Scott, and then you put in Keenan Allen and Moore and Badgett. Leave $1,800 on the table. How much are you leaving on the table in your lineups?
1,800 is totally fine to me. I set I'm usually leaving more than 1,000. I'll say that. I don't want to give an exact number because I'm trying to avoid dupes is the whole point. but yeah, I'm always leaving more than 1,000 on the table.
Oh, really? You leave more than 1,000 on the table?
Yeah, all of my lineups. I'm only playing the largest field GPP, so I want to be clear. Like,
gotcha.
That's the reason I wouldn't necessarily do it in a smaller field GPP. But since I'm only playing large field GPPs, I'm always leaving, because that's the easiest way to get unique. Like, there are a lot of things you can do as far as like constructions go, but just the stone easiest way to. I keep using the word stone today. The easiest way to get unique is just to leave a lot of salary on the table.
Is it like the Stone Temple Pilots?
It's Stone Smart. It's just, he's
Smart.
on my mind. He's on my mind.
He's encroaching into everything. All right, so back to the running backs. We have Roschon Johnson back. We had Donta Foreman 3 touchdowns in the last game, even though he played on barely half the snaps. He made good use of his touches there. Who was it?
Darrington Evans.
Darrington Evans. I think he kind of gets escorted to irrelevance at this point. Similarly with Kari Blasingame, but I'm guessing it's not necessarily Foreman's job, but he's going to get the first crack at it. And the reason I think that is, ultimately Roschon Johnson's going to take over. I don't know that it's tonight. And, he just missed 2 weeks, so he only has a couple games under his belt at speed of the NFL, blah, 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 all that. I think they're going to go with the veteran at this point, but I fully expect in a couple of weeks, Roschon Johnson to be the 60-40 guy. Would be my guess.
How confident are we?
Feel about those guys?
Yeah, so currently, I right now I only have I do have more of Deontay Foreman. I am expecting him to be the lead back. I'm expecting Roschon Johnson to be the third down. Going to be involved as well, like kind of the 1A and 1B situation. But part of me is like, are we sure that Darrington Evans is going to get virtually zero opportunity after he had played nearly 50% of the snaps last week? Played 48% of the snaps last week, actually more than Deontay Foreman last week.
I think those are going to go to Johnson.
I think so too. It's just, but so does the field. Is the only reason I'm bringing the question up is like, how confident are we? Are we like fully confident?
How confident are we in any of these things?
Yeah. But like, if our confidence is not high, 1.5% owned Darrington Evans, I think it's too Galbraith. I don't think I'm going to go there with Darrington Evans, but that is the kind of thing like in a large field contest for Showdown, like you have to at least think about those kind of things. Like, what if he does? What if he's out there for 40% of snaps and he scores a touchdown and has 10 rushes? Like at that point, you'd be foolish not to have him at 1.5% ownership. I do think that it's probably going to Roschon. I'm just questioning whether we can be that confident. Roschon never got in week 4. Roschon played 22% of snaps, while Kerry Blossomgame was playing 21%. That was Khalil Herbert played 78% of snaps in that game. Foreman, I think, was inactive. I mean, Darrington Evans has not played in a game with Roschon Johnson. Clearly, probably Roschon Johnson is the clear number 2 here. I'm just asking the question, but I think your analysis is almost certainly correct that it's going to be Foreman and Roschon.
But it's also the conventional thinking, right?
Exactly. That's why I have to bring it up, because it's like, well, the ownership also reflects that.
It does. All right. So that kind of hits the running backs. The wide receivers, let's include Cole Kmet, because I think that almost always when you have young quarterbacks or inexperienced quarterbacks, in addition to them scrambling from time to time because things are moving so darn fast, they tend to throw to end. Coaches usually make the tight end the safety valve in a lot of things. To not have Cole Kmet get a target last week was odd, I thought. So I think that was a blip. I think there will be a concerted effort to have him involved today, and I actually like him. I was dabbling with putting him in my core lineup. I ultimately did not, but I think I'm just throwing out last week. Do you think that makes sense? Because it's some of the stuff I read, and who knows, but somebody else says, well, it looks like he favors his wide receivers and not the tight end, and it's like, that does he?
Right. We have a one-game
that from 6.5 quarters of play.
We know the Cole Kmet was out there for 89% of snaps last week. I think that's just, one game sample size. I'm not going to read too much into the fact that he wasn't targeted last game.
All right. Oops, let me get to my notes here, because DJ Moore was targeted. He had 9 targets last week, and everybody knows the ball's going to him, but he is the best player. They will put him in a position. They will ideally, the coaches will scheme to get him open and just get the ball in his hands. So that's key. Darnell Mooney had 4 targets last week, just 24 yards. He did have a carry for 2 yards. And then Tyler Scott, he was 4th-round rookie. He had 3 targets, 7 over the last 2 weeks. And he has 5 rushing attempts on the season. 2 came in the last game. So it seems that the team's trying to get the ball at some of the playmakers, right, with the jet sweeps or the little pitch to the wide receiver coming around. Do you think? Do you have Velus Jones or anybody below Tyler Scott in your player pool, or are they coming into your lineups? I should say.
I have a share of Darius Davis. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. I don't have any Velus Jones. I thought I was going to, like, based on like last year, they did some of that stuff with Velus Jones where they seemed intent on getting him a touchdown. This year, they haven't really been at all so far. Velus Jones has run a total of 10 routes on the season through 6. He's played 6 games. He's run 10 routes. He has -1 air yard, which I guess that -1 air, that probably does mean they were trying to get him the ball, behind the line of scrimmage, which is kind of what they did last year. He's a speed guy. I guess he's similar to, who was it? There was a showdown slate that I think it was you and I were on Sunday Night Football, and it was a former XFL guy. I forget who it was, but it scored a touchdown, just like a speedy guy who like the previous week had run 5 routes and like didn't even come on my radar, and then he scored a touchdown. I was like, I should have thought about that. I think Velus Jones is kind of that kind of guy where it's like he could do it with one splash play. I don't think I'm going to go there. I probably would in a 150 set, but in 25 lineups, I don't think I'm getting to Velus Jones.
All right. Do you have any interest in Mercedes Lewis or Robert Tonyan? It seems that the Bears like former Packer tight ends.
It does seem that way. And both ran just over 30%. Sorry, played over 30% of snaps last week. Let me actually look at the route participation from last week. We had Robert Tonyan ran 3 routes last week. Mercedes Lewis ran 2. That does not inspire a ton of confidence in me. We had 1 target for Mercedes Lewis, 0 targets for Robert Tonyan. You could go there. Like they're both guys who are capable of just scoring a touchdown. They're entirely touchdown or bust. So like neither of these guys are going to put up a score that you need without a touchdown or a score that you want without a touchdown. I don't think I'm going to either of them just because we do have some other good values on the slate. But they are guys who could theoretically score a touchdown. We have them at low ownership. So if you wanted to in a large field GPP, sure, they're playable. But as I said, 2 and 3 routes run last week doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. They're very unlikely to hit.
All right. Defense, Chicago has more than 1 sack only 2 times this season. LA is giving up 2.5 per game. The Chargers are allowing the second fewest turnovers. They have just 4 interceptions and a fumble. The Bears have about 1 takeaway per game. Kickers, because we like to talk about kickers. Cairo Santos, perfect on all 11 attempts, including all 3 from 50 this year. Cameron Dicker, only 9 field goal attempts in the 6 games, but he's made 8 of them. The only one he missed was 50-yarder. So adequate kickers, nothing overly exciting on that one. How much Herbert captain are you getting tonight?
I believe 20%. Yes, 20%. So he's hitting my cap.
I don't want to say he's a weird one. If you turned his, what does he have, 4 rushing touchdowns already or something crazy like that? If you turn those into passing touchdowns, all of a sudden he's basically like leading the league in passing touchdowns, right? It's one of those where it seems like it's kind of hidden there. I don't think we count on his rushing upside by any stretch, but it was just interesting that he does have extra touchdowns that way. I don't think of him as a running quarterback. Therefore, I don't like to play that type of quarterback in the captain spot.
Yeah, when I have him in the captain spot, I am requiring multiple pass catchers in the flex. Yeah, it is. I looked at the yards per game, 13 yards per game on the year. I had not noticed the 3 rushing touchdowns for Herbert. He had 0 last year. He did have his rookie year. He had 5 rushing touchdowns. That makes him like if he scores a rushing touchdown, he's viable with just 1 pass catcher. But I'm requiring 2 in my 25 lineups when I've got him at captain.
That just kind of goes to show the point of the, oh crap, I'm a quarterback in the NFL and everybody's coming at me really quickly. I'm going to run.
Yep.
All right, great. Now my screen has frozen, so that's awesome. Better upload the lineups before this computer decides to crap out on me. That would just be epic. It would just be epic.
That would be unfortunate.
This is just one of those days. I'm chalking it up to that. I shouldn't even be here. I should have just called in sick. I don't think we ever call in sick here, do we? Do we get to call in sick?
I'm not really aware of anybody ever calling in sick. I don't think anybody has.
No, I think it's mostly, no, COVID. I remember some people had COVID. I think it's when you have the your technology craps out. We've called in with power outages, hurricane issues, things like that.
That makes sense.
But not. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of fun. If I couldn't talk, I would have to call in, but I can talk. Do you have your lineups uploaded? We have 7 minutes to walk here.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. I have not uploaded anything. I should upload a crunch, and then I can adjust as necessary.
I am going to upload my lineups here. I got my cash game lineup is in. I've got my I'm going to hand build quickly my one lineup into that $15 big contest because some lucky dog is going to win it. Maybe I'll capture a little of the Greg Ehrenberg magic.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. We're all trying to capture that Ehrenberg magic.
That's just wild to see that.
Somebody in chat, I think he's referring to. I mentioned an XFL player. He said he hate me. No, I'm talking about like a few weeks ago. in an
no, it was someone, and they scored relatively early because I think
it was like up
right
over.
After.
Yeah.
I
forget. He's a kick returner too.
Yeah, and he ended up with one random catch, and I think
I should know this as a big XFL guy. I should remember who this is, but
well, and then it was like his only catch of the game, or maybe he got two.
It was. Yeah, he had like 123-yard touchdown, and that was it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. My lineups are
Turpin.
uploaded.
Yes, it was Turpin. Devin is right. Cavante Turpin.
Yes. Well, Donald Parham of the XFL.
Also true. Yeah. Love me some Donald Parham. He was one of those two aforementioned tight ends in my second biggest win. So always gonna love Donald Parham.
There we go. All righty, so let's have some fun here. All right, so a couple things that we didn't mention. The Stochastic Avatar, go to stochastic.com/avatar, download the Stochastic Avatar, upload that to your DFS side of choice, finish top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 people, no chops, top 3, no ties. Send that screenshot to Stochastic HOF on Twitter with your Stochastic Avatar visible, and we will celebrate your victory by 1, putting you in the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Lofty will induct you, and then 2, you will get a 1-month package of your choosing from Stochastic. So check that out. We talked a little bit about Owner's Box, but we do want to remind you that they are the presenting sponsor of the show. You can sign up through the link below us here. When you put in a $10 deposit on their site, you get a $5 lightning round ticket and a $5 regular contest ticket when you put in $10. Plus, you get up to a $500 deposit match in their with that first deposit. And then promo code TIPOFF for all of you playing basketball, which is just about everybody. That is 20% off any Stochastic NBA package. That is promo code TIPOFF. All righty. We have all that. My lineups are up except the one I'm hand building right now. Let me get chat up and see if they have any questions here for us. Is Ship coming back? I believe he will be back this week. He had some personal stuff that came up at the last second that he had to attend to, but he should be back this week. He had to push it by 1 week. Oh, Chargers 27, Bears 13. That'd be a fun score. Who's the rogue tight end touchdown? Is it Stone Smart? I think it's going to be Cole Kmet.
Yeah. I would prefer that it's Stone Smart because I think I have the most of him of any tight ends. Yes, I do. I have way too much. I have 50% Stone Smart right now, and I think I'm going to see if I need to run another crunch. Somebody was just asking about for FanDuel cash, who would you play in the flex? That's a good question. So we have Badgen is just 12,500 on FanDuel. That's pretty nice cash salary, I would think. Josh Palmer 10,500. Both of those two look really good to me. I don't know if I could play Donald Parham in cash, but he is 7,000. Like I'm a little bit tempted, but probably not in cash.
Who do you like better? Because I keep coming down to this in the flex on DK, and it's the same question on FanDuel. DJ Moore or Badgent?
For a tournament?
Play. Yeah.
For a tournament, that is a good question. So it would we have DJ Moore at 30%, 37% total ownership, or I guess in the flex, 30% ownership in the flex. We have Tyson Badgent at similar 30%, 30%. So really hard to
just truly a coin flip.
Distinguish there. Yeah, it really is a coin flip between Badgent and DJ Moore. I
probably lean Badgent, and I don't feel good about it.
I was going to say I lean Badgent just slightly, but I don't feel good about it either. Just because DJ Moore's production is entirely reliant on having Tyson Badgent throwing the ball.
Exactly.
Badgent's is not reliant on DJ Moore.
So if he throws 2 touchdowns and none go to DJ Moore, Badgent's probably going to have the higher score.
Yeah.
Not guaranteed, but probably.
Right.
And that's kind of how I landed on that. So interesting. One last question. The building one lineup, would you rather have Eckler or Keenan Allen in captain?
I think Keenan Allen. Okay. How about you?
I have Eckler in my cash game lineup. I don't feel great about it. I could switch to Allen, I guess, right now because I have enough money to do it. But I have Allen, and I think I had Allen in the flex.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they go to Eckler tonight.
Yep.
I don't know if I can find it. I'll tell you what, this will be fun. If I can go find that before lock in 90 seconds, I will change it.
If you can find
you
it.
Think I should?
The sweat is on. I mean, I don't feel that strongly about it. Like, I feel like this Bears defense is bad enough against both positions that they could just run all over him with Eckler. I don't feel strongly about it. My slight preference is for Keenan Allen just because of he's got a little bit more PPR upside, but like Eckler clearly has that too. So I think it's fine either way. It's almost a coin flip. I have a slight preference for Keenan Allen though.
Would you go with Allen or Herbert?
Allen.
I think so. All right, I'm going to leave it unchanged. Leaving $1,800 on the table. This field, I'm playing 3 Bears in cash. This is going to end poorly.
Well, you're leaving $1,800 in a cash game?
Yeah, why not?
$1,800 in a cash. Oh, okay. So I was answering for a GPP. I mean,
no, I know, but the question was more for GPP. No, that's why it feels bad leaving that much money, but the way the points are working out, if it's all because of Stone Smart. If I would be agonizing over some other crappy play for $3,000 or $2,800 if I didn't have him. Right?
Sure.
So you're like, well, what's the difference? He's now going to be one of the 2 tight ends, I guess. Fingers crossed. It's Showdown slate. Plus, then now I can get snarky emails from Seth about how I played three Bears in cash. I believe the last time I did that was he made fun of me and I ended up beating him. So.
You ended up beating him? Oh wow! All right. He ended up making fun of you. Seth makes fun of you for everything you do. So I mean, that's nothing new.
Pretty much. His avatar. He doesn't have the stochastic avatar. He has my face as his avatar.
Does he really?
FanDuel and DraftKings. So it's always fun looking at that lineup on my phone. Oh, hey, I beat myself. There we go.
Nice.
Handsome looking fellow there.
Yeah.
All righty. We are at lock. God, this was like the Friday the 13th show. Everything broke. I
was married on Friday the 13th.
Computers here.
I was married on Friday the 13th, so don't disrespect the Friday the 13th. I was. I
believe most years there's only one. I think there can be as many as 3, but most years there's 1.
I mean, there's a 1 in 7 chance that the 13th is going to be a Friday.
That's not how it works, Neil. With 365 days and months ending in 28, sometimes 29, 30, and 31 days. That's not how it works.
No, it still works that way. It still works exactly that way. There's a 1 in 7 chance that the 13th day of the month is going to be a Friday. Yes, it's just very basic math, EMac.
It rounds to about a 1 in 7 chance, but it's not specifically.
It is specifically a 1 in 7 chance.
It's like the birthday. I forget what they call it. The birthday. It's not the conundrum, but if you get 25 people in a room, there's like an 85% chance that any two of them, will share a birthday. They won't share your birthday, but
right. That two of yeah. It's crazy.
That's bizarre.
Yeah,
but fun with probabilities. Hey, that's what DFS is. Probabilities.
True.
We should, since we're living in a simulation, we should use the stochastic simulations, much like Greg, to win $100,000.
It's a good sales pitch, EMac.
Just saying. Doubling down, Neil. Doubling down.
I like it.
Shall we get on out of here? I got to pack.
I'm
driving to Florida on Tuesday. I've got a lot of things I need to take care of.
You're a busy man. You're traveling like every week, it seems like.
Pretty much. I need to get a good night rest because that's 950 miles that we're driving on Tuesday. Wow, okay. It's a long day.
All right. Well, you better get to bed, old man.
All right. Well, with that, do you want to push the button to end the show? Because I'm not logged in, so I can't do it.
All right. I will push the button. Do you have any final words you want to say before I push it?
No, but follow the Showdown Shaman on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. You can find me at EMacDFS. And of course, it is stochastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.